What's up, Laker fans? Gut punch last night as Lakers' 6-game winning streak is snapped 119 to 118 against Orlando. You're listening to the Laker Film Room podcast. I'm Pete, joined by Darius. And D, it was a fantastic basketball game, one that looked like the Lakers, they were going to win it all toward the very end. 47 minutes of really good basketball, and I know free throws weren't necessarily the thing at the top of your mind after the game. They were at the top of mine, so I'll start there. Lakers go 3 for 9 from the free throw line in the fourth quarter. Austin misses 2. LeBron goes 1 for 2. AD goes 1 for 4, including 3 misses in the last minute, I believe, and then 2 with like 10 seconds left that would put the Lakers up 4. Franz Wagner, who had a phenomenal game, goes on the other end, hits a step back over Cam. Orlando gets the victory. D, basketball is a game where it's 200 possessions, about or a little bit more total. And so no one possession can win or lose it in a overall sense, but we'd be riding high talking about a 7-game winning streak right now if just for the free throws.
No, and so last night I did say the free throws will get all the shine, and they will get all the shine because they were important. So I don't want to disregard those things. Austin missed 2. We'll get to Austin in a minute. I got a few things to say about Austin's game. But Austin missed 2, AD missed 3, LeBron missed 1. It's just like the Lakers lose by 1 point. If any of those things just go normal, then the Lakers win just from a free throw perspective. And so especially the ones down the stretch where the Lakers did what they were supposed to in terms of climbing back into the game or seizing back control. Their stars were huge. LeBron and AD were awesome.
It really obscures, those free throws really obscures just an incredible game from the two of them.
They were just so good. LeBron shape-shifting between sharpshooter, 3-point threat, bombing 3 after 3 after 3, to then grabbing clutch rebounds and big boy rebounds, 2-handers up in traffic. And then he had that massive outlet to AD, which literally took all the strength that he had in his body to heave a full court pass. And AD was great. We talked about it in yesterday's pod in the preview to the game. And I had mentioned that I thought this was going to be an important LeBron game and an important AD game. And you talked about the ability to threaten the paint and challenge a team where they are supposedly strong. I thought the Lakers did so much of that stuff really well.
Bro, the offense was so good last night. They scored 30 plus in every quarter with the exception of the third quarter where the Lakers scored 21. And it was against, Orlando had to go to zone. Now they're without some guys too, but this isn't, I think, the reason that they had to do that, right? And it kind of flummoxed the Lakers for long enough for Orlando to take the lead and take control of and maybe not control of the game in that point, but certainly that was their best defensive quarter. But Orlando, the number 2 defense in the league, couldn't guard the Lakers all that well for most of the night.
No, and I thought AD was just great. Just not only in how he managed his individual isolation possessions, but just how he leveraged his quickness and power around the basket, on the glass, getting the loose balls. He was just so good. And so AD, I think, is particularly hard on himself when he makes a mistake that he thinks cost the team a game. And after the game, you could just tell, slumped in his chair in front of his locker and seemingly pretty despondent about the free throws that he missed. And so the gravity of that is not lost on me. It's just if this dude is looking in the mirror and sort of saying, if I do this one thing better, we win, he's not wrong. He also did so many things right. It's just I'm loath to pin it on the fact that he missed a couple of free throws that were critical, but the Lakers win this game by 6 or 7 points if they do other things to the quality in which I know that they can do them.
What were you looking for?
So I was looking for a certain amount of compete on the backboards, considering they knew exactly what was in front of them. It's how JJ has talked in the past about we challenge our guys to do X, Y, and Z. He talks about them responding. And I thought that the Lakers' defense and their rebounding were going to be challenged in very specific ways against a very physical Orlando team. And I thought, knowing that, the Lakers needed to sort of raise their level to within what they're capable of. And I just thought that on some possessions they did, and I thought they battled hard. And on others, I thought that Orlando just continued to outwork them in a way where I don't want to say I was disappointed, but I just wanted better.
Yeah, that was something we circled early on, and it was a 15-9 difference in offensive rebounds for Orlando, and including some possessions at the end of the game that, helped Orlando. The Lakers would get the initial stop, but then Orlando would get the ball back and score off of that.
A question I had for you, Pete, because it frustrated me last night, and it's frustrated me at varying points over the course of the season. The loss against the Suns was another example of this, of how easily the Lakers are giving up a switch. Mm-hmm. And I thought they gave up the switch too easily against Franz, particularly in a game where he had it going early and then had it going again late. And that final three that he hit, to me, was the worst example of giving up a switch when you absolutely did not need to give up a switch at all. They had AD on him, and then they didn't even get a good screen. It was basically just like
an exchange. Yeah.
It was an exchange. And then they passed him off to Cam. And look, I get it. Cam's a very good defender, but is there any Laker you'd want more defending that final possession on Franz than Anthony Davis? And to just give it up without any sort of force, no hard screen, no nothing where you felt like, oh, my hand is forced here to have to switch. I get it if that's the case, but over the course of the night, I felt like Franz was able to just pick and choose. And he chose Austin Reaves a bunch. There was a stretch where he chose Gabe Vincent a bunch. And it's just like, okay, I get it. This is the style of defense that they're playing, but I just thought it was way too easy for him, and he found his rhythm late.
He did. And the story of how we guarded Wagner, I thought, was a big part of how that game went. Because as you rightly pointed out, he went off early and late. And in the middle of the game, he was kind of quiet. And part of that is because the Lakers had started essentially sending two. The Lakers started in the late second quarter hedging and recovering high with AD, just to kind of get the ball out of his hands. And then they're rotating and swinging the ball and hitting threes off of that, or attacking closeouts, right? And so I have some degree, arguably too much grace for the Lakers defense right now. I'll give that for sure. But that, I think, was part of it. There's a certain amount of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So when the Lakers started hedging and recovering and showing high with AD, all of a sudden Wagner isn't scoring that much, but they're getting into rotation on the back line and all that, D. And so they went back to the switching again late in the game. And that's what Wagner's the reigning Eastern Conference Player of the Week. He's really good and has a over the top advantage over Cam.
Well, to your point too, he had 11 assists. And so it's like it very much was a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think that in the same way, though, that we highlight a missed free throw, I'm going to highlight a defensive possession where it's just like, oh, you gave up a switch for no reason here.
The other part of that, too, D, is time and score, right? You're up by 2. If you press up on a guy like that, I'm a big believer in that, especially like don't give them one shot to be able to beat you like that. Press up on Wagner. You got AD waiting for him back in the paint. If he pulls up, if he blows past you and pulls up and hits a little 12-foot floater over an AD contest, you live with it. You go to overtime. Let's try to get the win. But you can't you got to play for that step back to take that away.
I feel like you were just speaking right out of JJ Redick's head right there, because post-game, he talked about the team's execution level down the stretch. And so if you listen to the point that he makes here at the end, you'll sort of get the gist of what Pete was just describing.
I'd have to go rewatch every possession there in the last couple minutes. Overall, I felt comfortable with our execution up until the missed free throws and the Wagner 3. I would say don't quote me on that, but it's just a general thought right now. I'd have to go look at every possession, but thought we executed our reds. I thought not like we were conceding layups. We had the timeouts. We, didn't love the thought process and the mindset when Wagner hit the three, because we talk all the time about just our ISOs. Like we don't want to allow threes in ISOs. Obviously late game especially. The small thing on the last play, we got two options on that play. We got to one of them. Small thing, could have been a little bit better just in a quick rewatch. But overall, I'll live with the execution outside of the missed free throws in the Wagner three.
And so there it is, Pete. Like he's talking about how, especially at the end of games, we don't want to play that way in an ISO. Now, to Cam's credit, or to give Cam a little bit of grace, Wagner's like 3 feet behind the line. It's like
and he's 6'10". It's a difficult shot to contest in the first place. But
that's a tough shot. But if you're going to give up the switch in that case, then Cam can't defend him in the same way that AD was going to defend him. AD can give him that space. AD is 6'10", 6'11", and he's got a 7'2" or 7'3" wingspan. He's going to get there to contest.
7'6",
yeah. Like he's huge. Cam does need to press up on him and test his handle and make him do a little bit more. Let's go to break here, though, Pete, because I don't want to get too far into the conversation and feel like we've missed the plot a little bit here. So, Pete, the other thing that we talked about in the preview to the game was Orlando's physicality in the backcourt, actually, and how their guards defensively were going to test the Lakers guards. I thought the Lakers got a little bit of a reprieve in the fact that KCP didn't play. And so it's really just Suggs. And then they started Gary Harris. Anthony Black played, but didn't play a ton. But the Lakers guards were bad yesterday. And
6 for 22 between Austin and D'Lo.
And so the level of game that LeBron and AD played, that's sort of like at or above what you would actually expect from them. The Lakers guards, I thought, were far below where they needed to be, but even a little bit below like what you'd expect even against a very tough and physical Orlando team. And so what did you see from the guards? I'm going to chime in a second here, but what did you see? Because they really did struggle, I thought.
I'll start with D'Lo because I think it's simpler, although slightly more bizarre in his instance. I've been really liking D'Lo's floor game for the most part, relative to his physical abilities and all that. But his jumper is in the upside down right now. He's shooting 29.8% from three on the year, so sub 30% from three. Has shot several air balls, including one in last night's game. And if one of the listeners on Playback had pointed this out a couple games ago, and I've started really watching for it, his feet are kind of all over the place. He's got this little leg kick thing he's doing now. And so there's always been an unreliability to D'Lo's just open jump shot. Like while they were in that zone, part of the reason the Lakers couldn't beat it is D'Lo looking very unconfident in his jumper and taking one occasionally and it missing badly, but passing up 3 or 4 against this zone where he loves those shots normally, where he's got his feet set. He can use a ball fake to, lose the defense, that shot fake sidestep to the right. That's his shot. And he's just got no rhythm as a shooter right now. So that's completely abandoned him in a lot of ways. With Austin, I thought they circled him on their scouting report and said, look, with the personnel we have, maybe LeBron can get downhill, maybe AD can, but we're going to take you out of this game. And I thought Suggs was just a huge pain in his ass for most of the game, picking him up full court. Austin, I thought, so the basketball idea is that you beat pressure with pressure. So a team like Orlando, for one, they get some benefit from the officials, where if you have the reputation as a physical team that plays good defense, plays hard, and you play like that on every play, there is a certain amount of, they can't call everything, right? And so Austin was really politicking for a whistle for a lot of the night, and as was LeBron. But Austin was trying to sort of like, a lot of times he was doing that action where he fakes the handoff and tries to zoom right to the basket, which is a good thing to do, and he would get a little bit of separation, but he wouldn't get that, I can get all the way to the rack with this. He did a couple times, but not not usually. There were several other possessions where it's a turnover or it's a difficult shot that, after he takes the shot, he's looking at the ref like, what the hell? And so I thought they really looked to take him out with pressure. He tried to beat it with pressure on the other end and just didn't have enough physicality to kind of to match that.
Yeah, I think that's fair, what you're saying about Austin. I think he actually deserved a couple of trips to the foul line. He got undercut on one play.
For sure.
Right, where he got bumped on his body and he fell down. He was definitely lobbying. Suggs ate his lunch, though, and Suggs will do that. He's an all-defensive first-team level player. He's one of the best defensive guards in the league. I just thought Austin played a subpar game for Austin's level that he can play to even with that sort of matchup. Yes, circle him all you want. It's just like the driving into spaces where there's nothing there, turning your back and then having nothing. Like, look, we saw that from him last season at the very start of the year, and that inability at times to, I just thought his decision-making wasn't quite as sharp as it needed to be, considering the level of defender that he was facing, the type of defense overall that Orlando plays, and where his game was. Also, too, for most of the game, Austin didn't have a rebound on a night where you just said that Orlando was really crashing the offensive glass, and they do that with their guards a fair amount, too. And for most of the night, he only had a single assist. So he ended the night with 2 rebounds. He had that big offensive rebound where he drew a foul. That was great. And he had a couple of assists late. But for the most part, he got targeted on defense and didn't commit a single foul. Right? And so if a team's going at you all night and you're at a physical disadvantage and you don't foul once, that tells me you're actually not really defending hard enough within the context of the team looking at you. At some point, I'm just like, I'm fouling the shit out of you. You're just attacking me. You're going to bump me off? Like, no, one of these times I'm just taking a foul. Like, you're not going to do that to me all night. But that's what happened to him. He got bumped off the ball all night. Suggs did it to him, but Franz did it to him a ton. And look, Franz is a big dude. I expect him to bump him off, but to not take a single foul, to not have a rebound basically for 32 of his 34 minutes, it's just like, come on.
Didn't have a rebound in the Utah game either.
There's just a certain amount of you needed to be better in this game, and he wasn't. And again, I know the free throws from AD matter. Austin missed 2 as well.
He missed 3 overall on the night, but 2 in the fourth quarter, yeah.
But he missed 2 in the fourth quarter, not at the very end of the game, but in crunch time, basically. And so I love Austin. And in the pecking order of trust, like he's in that circle of trust that I have like LeBron and AD in when it comes to...
You have him in the LeBron and AD circle of trust? They're alone for me in that circle. He's in the next one, though.
I'm saying in the idea of it's the playoffs or a big game, like there's a certain amount of like, I trust that there's a level that he's going to be at mentally and physically. And like, I don't trust that he's going to get numbers and pop, but I trust that when it's time to do his job and be locked in, and even if it's time to hit a big shot, I trust him.
Yeah.
He's done it over and over and over again. And so is he on the outer edge of that circle of trust? Probably. But he's like dipping his toe in there at least for me.
Sure. Yeah, and I think there's a certain level like I can trust you to be Austin Reaves.
Yes.
And that's sort of like I think the crux of your point, right, is that we need and expect a certain level of production for you to reach and that we can trust for you to get it. But he didn't get there last night, D. And so there is, I would argue that the type of team that Orlando is on the defensive end. And again, this was a game where the Lakers, with both of their main guards struggling, still scored 118 points and and made Orlando be like, we got to go into our secondary, into our quote unquote junk defenses with our zones. That's actually one thing, just quick sidetrack. I would love to see the Lakers starting to cultivate some zone. They may have to in this stretch with Rui being out. Hopefully he's back for the game on against Denver on Saturday. But they're playing a group of pretty good teams in this 5-game stretch, of which the Orlando game was the first one. And I think that a zone would be sort of helpful within that. But they had their guards struggling in a game where they still scored a $118. What do you take from this game, D, from a learning experience standpoint for those guards? Let's take a break, come back and talk about it.
See, it's an interesting question that you ask, because I feel like, not that I know everything about these guards, but there's very few things that they can show me that feels out of the realm of things that I've already considered about them as being true. And so I don't know if there's anything necessarily that I've learned or like the takeaways.
Let me rephrase the question. You get that evidence for the reality of what a player is, right? And you get sort of reinforcements for that. How do the Lakers react off of that? That you play a game against a playoff level defense against a physical team, and you see sort of the same patterns emerging. I would even argue D'Lo not having his jumper is partly influenced by a level of pressure on the perimeter. He goes 1 for 7 from 3. Is there anything the Lakers can do about that? Maybe that's a better version of the question I'm trying to ask.
Internally with their guards, no. With these sets of players, no. Like, I do think Austin can play better, but Austin's physical limitations are what they are. And I think that we're fooling ourselves if we think, oh, well, yeah, next time he'll just play better against Jalen Suggs, or next time he'll just play better against Drew Holiday, or next time he'll just play better against Marcus Smart, or any of these like really physical, tough defensive guards that have great lateral quickness and length and can basically just give him problems. Can he win some of those battles? Of course he can. D'Lo can too, but over the long haul, those guys are going to wear them down. The Lakers don't have a different pitch to throw within their guard core. Austin, D'Lo, and Gabe all have a certain amount of ceiling when it comes to their physical profiles that are going to make it a challenge for them against specific sorts of matchups. Now, every team doesn't have that sort of matchup, and every team can't just throw that guy at Austin or D'Lo, because a lot of times that guy has to guard LeBron. But Suggs got switched onto LeBron on one of the late game possessions. And it was because Austin came up and like set sort of like a ghost screen, or something happened. There was an exchange and Suggs got switched onto LeBron. LeBron put his head down, got right to the basket, shoveled off to AD, and AD got a dunk. If you're looking for the difference between the athletic difference, you can look at their size and everything else. Like, I get it. One's LeBron James and one is Austin Reaves. But there are guard versions of that player that can be like, okay, you're going to muscle up on me? No, that's not going to work. That idea of beating pressure with pressure, Austin can do that against a certain caliber of dude, but he can't do it against Suggs. Suggs shut off his water when it came to that aspect of things. And that means D'Lo, to me, has no chance, and neither does Gabe. Gabe's small. And so it's just like, if Austin can't do it within that trio, then nobody can. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a problem within the roster that's not going to be resolved internally.
Totally. And this is something we were talking a little bit about before the pod, of it just being a roster weakness. And the Lakers have gone on a wild journey from a roster perspective in this respect, in that they went from, in the 2020 season, being a team that had Kobe completely slack-jawed about how big they were. And that's the biggest team I've seen in my life, right? Between the size and just wave after wave of athlete, to 2 calendar years later, Christmas of 2022, we have a lineup where Austin Reaves is playing the 5.
Yeah. Crazy choices within the coaching to throw those guys out there. But yes.
It was both choices and roster. Half our roster were guards.
Yeah.
And like, not even big guards either. We're talking,
it was like Nunn and Pat Bev.
Lonnie Walker and Pat Bev, and just wave after wave. And then you throw Austin on top of that. And so The Lakers have been slowly twisting back into that bigger, more athletic. Like, one thing I was encouraged by, we spilled a lot of ink on him, so I don't want to spend too time, but Dalton was ready for that game. Dalton was athletic enough for that game.
He
and
was
able to score and get his own shot. And that's sort of if you focus just on the backcourt with the 2020 Lakers, the size there is Danny Green and KCP.
Avery Bradley.
Even Rondo, for one, has incredibly long arms, and there's physical advantages all over the board. To go from that to like Austin Reaves at the 5 2 years later to like Dalton Knecht at the 2 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not super discouraged by this, and I do think there are some things from a schematic standpoint where you can get a guy like Suggs off of Reaves and get him open, but it's a more coordinated action than I think the Lakers are at that point yet. So like there are still steps in the story on beating this type of team, but I'd been worried about this game, D, because I think that it represents sort of a natural weakness the Lakers have.
Yeah, and we're 15 games in, right? But in the original form of your question, you're like sort of learning something. And no, I know this about these guys. And this is where it's like Dalton had a possession where he got matched up against Jonathan Isaac out on the perimeter, and Isaac was hounding him. And Dalton stepped back, he gave him a little shake, and Isaac was still right there. So then Dalton drives hard to his left, and Isaac tried to reach in, and like he almost poked away the ball, but he didn't. And then Dalton was able to get back to his right hand, crossover, and then he shot a little like jumper and he buried it. And that was a possession where I'm just like, oh, you've got something with your combination of size and ball handling, leaping ability, just all of it, right? And again, Austin can do that stuff too against a certain caliber of defender. And like, I've seen Austin cook Giannis. It's not like he doesn't have a bag. It's not like he can't win some of these possessions.
That's even a different battle though, right? Because with a guy like Giannis, he's not leaning on you. This is like Suggs was in the backcourt, forearm to chest, or you know what I mean? And it's just this constant 48 minutes of that where if you have to sag off of Austin a little bit, the way Giannis has to, because he's a little taller, a little lankier, a little less mobile laterally than Suggs is, right? Then Austin's going to dance with it, and he's going to use hesitations and fakes and can totally cross you over. But if you can lean on Austin, you can take him away.
Yeah, and this is why I don't want to spend any more time at all really talking about Austin. Like, he had a bad game.
Yeah, it
is what it is. And like I mentioned, like I trust Austin to a degree where I'm not looking for an Austin solution.
Yes.
I'm looking for ways to supplement the players who I think are core players, right? AD and LeBron are core players. Austin's a core players. Dalton he's moving into that sphere for me where it's just like, oh, in this game, you showed up.
Yep. And let's end on this then, sort of a topic that we haven't hit yet that I know is a hot one right now. Is in pregame, someone asked Redick about Dalton continuing to start when Rui comes back. And he basically said, I haven't decided on Dalton, but I do expect Rui to start when he comes back, which leaves open the possibility of, are they going to try that all offense starting lineup again, but this time with a bigger, more athletic Dalton at the 2 rather than D'Lo, or do they keep and I've loved how Cam plays. Like, I don't want Cam to have fewer minutes necessarily. I think that he plays an important role on this Lakers team. But what was your reaction to Redick's comments there?
I think that's the right way to play it. The thing is that the Lakers don't have a defensive solution to support LeBron and Austin on the roster.
Well, Vando, I would argue, but he's not available.
I'm saying, though, Vando can't guard 2 different players at the same time.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, in theory, you would want, I look at a team like Minnesota, for example, right? Someone has to guard Edwards and someone has to guard Randall. In the Rui configuration where Dalton comes off the bench, Cam gets to guard Ant, and Rui gets to guard Randall. right? If you take Cam out of the starting lineup and put Dalton there, then Austin gets to guard Ant, right? And then Rui gets to guard Randall. Great. What I'm saying is that you have to find multiple solutions defensively. And I think ultimately that's the challenge within this version of the Lakers, is that this version of LeBron is not a possession-to-possession defensive neutral player. He's like a little bit below that, possession to possession. On any given possession, I trust LeBron to do the right thing and to make the right play and to be engaged. And again, I think LeBron's defensive rebounding has mostly been there.
He had some heroic defensive rebounds. I would have been gushing about that in this pod had the Lakers won this game. But yeah, when the time comes, and that's part of the reason why the Lakers rating in crunch time, although it took a hit yesterday, has been so good, is because LeBron will do all those things when he needs to. But part of your point is there's what happens when there's 7:30 left in the second quarter.
Yeah, and so like I think there's merit to say Dalton, the shooting guard, is like a solution at different points of the game. I think in the bigger picture, and we'll have this discussion probably in like another week and a half or 2 weeks as we approach December 15th, is there's a keeper bag of players we're going to throw in to that bag. And then there's can we go to the store and exchange this for something else bag, right? For the better fitting piece. And there's no guarantee you can go and get the better fitting piece. And that's why trade stuff is complicated. But I'm overall encouraged the morning after, where I'm also super frustrated about an individual loss, if that makes sense.
It does. As I said earlier, the Lakers are starting this upcoming stretch of tough games, and this would have been a good one to bank, but good thing they did bank all those easier wins. But Nuggets coming up on Saturday. I think we'll wrap up here. D, be back on Monday, talk about how that game goes. But until then, you've been listening to the Laker Film Room Podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.
James has got it in low to McHale. McHale wants to turn. He's double team. Just pass out in front. Broken up by Worthy. Tip to Magic. Worthy dies on his belly. Magic scores.
There's Magic, got it. Magic fires again. They will. Lakers win the game. The Lakers win the game. Rebound of Lonnie. 3 seconds left. Van Exel to win it. It's on the way. Good.
Kobe Bryant, 48 points, 16 rebounds. Shot with his 8th block shot that ties an NBA Finals record.
A lot of Laker fans sticking around for this.
You're seeing something that's very rare indeed. A Laker to get MVP chance
in Boston. Of all places.
Are you kidding me?
Kobe, hard to believe.
Are you kidding me? Unreal. Are you kidding me?
Lakers looking to push. Bryant spinning in the lane. Back for Gasol. Pretty pass. And it's back to a 3-point game.
Kobe Bryant picked up by Bell.
There's the move. 2, 1.
Miss it.
Unbelievable. For the victory. It's over.
Shot clock now to 5. Bryant.
Yes. And then with a little tap to Alvin Gentry.
Add insult to injury, Kobe. I mean, what a shot. I mean, you can't defend that. Are you kidding me?
2.1 seconds remaining. Denver a foul to give. Jokic trying to disrupt Rondo. He puts it in. Here's Davis, 4-3 in the win. Oh, it's good! Anthony Davis has won it for the Lakers! James again. Oh, he hits another one. LeBron James putting together a closing quarter against the Nuggets.
This historic 2020 NBA championship belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers conquer the bubble, and banner number 17 will soon hang in the rafters.